Hey there, it's Lisette Offley here. Welcome along to this training video where I'm going to be teaching you how you can fix your memory and stop failing exams in under 2 weeks so you ace exams every time using Genius Material Accelerator. Now, you've noticed already that I speak really quickly, and that's because I'm so passionate about what I do and what I want to say to you. And what I can promise is that if you hang around for the next 60 minutes or so, you're going to get delivered the exact step-by-step system telling you what you're currently doing wrong and how it doesn't matter who you are, how good you are at your job, how you can get rid of your bad memory in just 2 weeks and set yourself up to ace exams every time using Genius Material Accelerator. And that means you don't have to spend every waking hour studying. You don't have to cram at the last minute. You won't have to keep resitting each exam several times because all of that stuff doesn't work for anyone, advisors included. So how exactly can you fix your memory so passing exams is a piece of cake? And in 2 weeks? I mean, that's just 14 days for goodness sake. How can you go from forgetting everything you try to learn to remembering everything instead while having fun doing it? You think that's unlikely? Well, you're in the right place because you're going to find out how, by using Genius Material Accelerator, you can indeed do just that. There are only 4 steps, and I'm going to unpack those steps for you over the next few minutes in this webinar. Now, if you pay attention and you take this stuff seriously, you're going to have results like Yannick, who used my system to go from feeling swamped by the deluge of information he had to learn in a very short amount of time he could spare, just 1 month, and Mark Yu in his second language, to achieving his chartered status by fixing his memory and passing his exams. And of course, this meant that he could concentrate on building his growing portfolio of exactly the clients he wanted to work with. He's going from strength to strength, all because he fixed the real problem, his memory. That's what I'm going to teach you in this online training, so you need to stay for the whole thing. I know it's very tempting not to stay and listen to all of it. We're busy, I get it. So, to sweeten the pot, if you stay till the end, I'll give you a very special well done gift for paying attention from me. My report. Unlucky 13 biggest mistakes financial advisors make when studying for diploma and chartered exams. Over the years, from listening to hundreds of advisors tell me how they go about trying to learn for a finance exam, I've gathered the most common mistakes together in this report. You're more than likely to discover mistakes you've been making, and of course in this report I tell you what to do instead to stop having to resit every exam by making your study much more efficient and effective. Look, it doesn't matter whether you're brand new in your industry or whether you've been at it for a long while, whether you're heading for diploma or chartered status, whether you're building your own business or working for someone else, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you how to unpack Accelerator so you can implement it for yourself, fix your memory, pass all your exams easily, first time, and start earning the money you deserve, which can be twice, 3 times, or even 4 times what you're earning today. So if you stay to the end, that's exactly what I'm going to send to you. But the main thing you're going to be learning over the next 60 minutes is this one new strategy, which I also personally use to pass exams easily. Even if you've tried working harder and harder and have found that it doesn't help, even if you're sure you've tried everything and nothing works, and even if you're convinced you've got a dreadful memory and you'll never pass those exams, I'm going to show you why what you've been doing doesn't work, why working harder and longer is a waste of your time and energy, and how you need to work smarter, not harder, so you fix your memory and transform your results in just a couple of weeks, without giving up everything else that's important to you, without sacrificing your whole life to it, and without losing yourself along the way. You know, really, Accelerator, which I've personally used to pass exams easily several times, is the exact opposite of a lot of the lies you've been told about getting information into your head. Actually, that's not true. They're not lies. They're just things that are never going to work for you. They don't work for anyone. And anyone who's passed an exam using any of these methods have passed them despite them, not because of them. On this webinar, the penny will drop. I will explain why everything you've been told to do, everything you thought you should do, has been making the situation worse, not better. Why nothing you're doing now or have done in the past has worked for you, even if sometimes it's looked as though it's worked for someone else. Maybe it's been a while since you've taken exams, and the experience was so painful it's been stopping you even making a start now. I get a lot of calls from advisors who tell me how much they need to pass their diploma or advanced exams, but have had a terrible time in the past and have failed over and over again. It's so painful. And so now they've got a dream of getting their qualifications, but they're just too afraid to make a start because they're afraid it'll go the same way as before, and they're just not willing to go through that pain again. I don't blame them. And what they need is to find a way to study effectively and a way that will fit in around their other commitments at work and at home, so they don't have to give everything else up. And I get that. But before we get into this, and I don't want to spend a long time telling you about me, but I do think you need to understand. Look, I know what I'm saying to you is true, simply because of the journey I've been through and the journey I've taken countless advisors through. In fact, I've taken them from failing the same exams time and time again to passing each exam first time, and with convincing scores of around 80% and more. I started out, blimey, more than 35 years ago. I taught in mainstream schools in the UK for 20 years. I've been exceptionally lucky to have had loads of world-class training here and abroad in managing the mind. And so, since 2004, I've been running my own consulting business as a memory and mindset coach, helping advisors and other professionals, as well as teenagers, just setting out on their academic journey, to fix their memory and mindset so they achieve their professional and personal goals in record time. I'm good at what I do, and I'm sure you're good at what you do too. And I enjoy what I do. I do this because I want to, because I get so much pleasure from helping my clients transform their careers and their lives. You see, over the years, I've realized I had to find a way to help my students fix their memory so they could pass exams first time. And I had to find a way that was quick and simple. No one has much time these days. We've all got so much going on. If I was to help advisors, I had to find a way for them to get the results they needed without neglecting all the other important parts of their business and family life. After all, what use would it have been for them to be brilliant at exam passing, but lose their business and or their families in the effort? I had to find a way that made sense, that was quick and foolproof and doable by everyone, not just a few outliers. Because most advisors who talk to me tell me that they spiral down and down, getting more and more despondent, feeling helpless and powerless, and can't find their way forward. If I was going to help them, it had to be something that didn't mean spending every hour studying, retaking each and every exam loads of times, stressful last-minute cramming, and something that created space and calm, not overwhelm and stress. With a background in teaching, I found a way to do that, which I've encapsulated in Accelerator, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. So I guess this is the story of my extremely successful methodology that's helped so many advisors get the results they deserve. And you'll see testimonial after testimonial of advisors who have succeeded this way. Passing exams first time by spending half the amount of time and effort. Maybe you're inspired by that. I hope so. Many advisors, wealth managers, planners, paraplanners, brokers and specialists are. You could be one of them. But maybe you're still worrying that even though it's worked so well for other advisors, it won't work for you. Meet Martin. Like so many advisors, and quite rightly, he was focused on the clients he already had, making sure he looked after them. Of course, he was also working hard to create new business and to grow his empire. And like so many advisors, he was really struggling to find the time for studying. And when he did, he found that despite working really hard at it, he couldn't remember what he tried to learn. The harder he worked, the worse it was, and he didn't know what else he could do. It was getting very stressful, and he knew he was wasting his time and effort, But look at the difference it makes when you fix your memory. He passed his next exam with a distinction, and after systematically passing the remaining exams, he was made a senior partner at St. James' Place. He's continued to develop his position in the marketplace, and the confidence he has in his knowledge has allowed him to be very well connected with other professionals, and he's known as the go-to advisor in his area. Everyone knows he knows what he's doing. He's very well respected, both by accountants and solicitors and his clients too. I figured this out over decades of training and experience and tens of thousands of pounds of training. But you're going to get the quick way, because I'm going to tell you what to do and what not to do. And you will have, by the end of this, a step-by-step plan for fixing your memory in a couple of weeks, so you pass exams first time, and easily, without having to spend every waking hour working harder and harder and giving up everything else, because it's sucking up every second of every day. Hard way number 1. This is what you have to stop doing. It's what my advisors have had to stop doing. I get how busy you are and how tempting it is to leave your studying to the last minute and hope to get someone else to teach you the information you need. But leaving it all to the last minute like this is so stressful. Invariably, you won't have left enough time to do yourself justice. You need to stop relying on last-minute technical training. Sitting in a room with other advisors, trying to fill your brain with technical information in preparation for the next exam. Look, I don't have a problem with technical training. I think it's a great thing. But relying on that to get you through exams just doesn't work. You know that already, don't you? And the advice they give you as you lead the session, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but, well, you've done it, haven't you? Did it work? Let's be honest here. If it worked, you wouldn't be on this webinar, would you? Maybe the advice would work for them because they're the trainer. They know their subject inside out. Just their subject, mind, not all the topics you're meant to know, just their subject. Maybe their advice would work for them at their level of understanding, knowledge and experience. But that doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. Stuff they say like, read your textbook, or highlight your textbook, or do some practice papers. Maybe that works for them because they already know the stuff you've yet to learn. You're probably nearer the beginning of your journey, even if you've been at it, trying to make it work for a long time. If you don't know the information, you're at the beginning and you're not yet at technical trainer level. So you need to stop doing it the hard way. Because someone else can't push the information into your head. It's not how your brain works. And in any case, we're hardwired to forget. That's right. We're meant to be forgetful. Forgetting is perfectly normal. So even if you could get someone else to do all the work and get the information into your head, how are you going to keep it there? That's why so many advisors attempt to book one of these technical training sessions as late as they can before sitting the exam. They're hoping that they won't forget it. And the only hope they have is to sit the exam before they've forgotten all of it. It's a race against time. Talk about stress. And what a shame that once they've taken the exam, they'll remember so little of this that they seem no more knowledgeable than they were before. So they've got a piece of paper, but that's all they've got to show for it. Doesn't strike me as a sensible use of time, effort, and money. There's no getting around it. You're a human being. Your brain works the way human beings' brains work, not the way you wish it worked. When you're in the exam, it's your long-term memory that you're relying on, and whether you like it or not, to get information into your long-term memory, you've got to do what your brain needs you to do. And that is, spend the right amount of time and doing the right things, not random activities that feel as though you're doing the right things. Most advisors don't even know what sleeping has got to do with memory formation. And so they'll cram through the night when they'd be better off having a full complement of Zs. It just doesn't work. But worse than that, it's stressful and upsetting when no matter what you do, you just keep getting knocked back. It even begins to feel personal, that the examiner's determined to keep you from achieving your goals. You'll begin to wonder what's wrong with you, and you'll start feeling ashamed and avoid talking about your future plans. You might even give up on them altogether. Ouch! That's the cost of trying to pass exams the hard way. The same way that your contemporaries are trying to. And that's part of the problem. Everyone's going about it the same way, so everyone thinks it's the way to do it. Has your technical trainer, or anyone else for that matter, advised you to read your textbook in order to learn its contents? Many advisors hear this advice so often that it's become accepted wisdom. It feels like the obvious thing to do. But really, it isn't good advice at all. You already know what happens when you read your textbook. After a little while, you sort of come to and realise you haven't taken in a single word of the last paragraph. So what do you do next? You read it again, don't you? What happens this time? After a little while, you suddenly realise you've not taken in another word this time either. You can find yourself reading the same paragraph over and over and still not know what it was about. Why? Reading sends the brain to sleep. Your brain is so clever. It'll give you just enough brain power to let you follow the words with your eyes, but decline to engage the part of your brain you need in order to understand the meaning of the words. It'll disconnect, switch off. You'll have nothing to do with it. So none of this information is actually going to get into your head. You'll have no idea what you read, if you can call that reading. Your brain is a conservationist. It likes to conserve energy, namely yours. It'll take the opportunity for a little snooze. It's the worst thing you could do with your time and money to fix your memory and pass exams. You ain't going to learn anything if that's what you're relying on, and it'll make a fool of you. I love this picture. I'm not saying you look like this chap, but I bet sometimes when you can't make anything work, you feel like him. Reading and rereading your textbook has the opposite effect to the effect you're after. Instead of making you smarter, you'll simply waste your time and effort and leave you frustrated and disappointed. Before you know it, your memory has got even worse and you're on the verge of giving up your dream of ever becoming chartered. And as for doubling your salary, that seems like a complete pipe dream. It might be something you were aiming for, but that was before it became obvious that it wasn't as easy as you first thought. You know you need to make your position more secure for yourself, your career and your family. You've heard the talk about level 6 becoming mandatory in the near future and you don't want to get left behind. Worse, you don't want to find yourself kicked out of your profession and looking for another job. You're aware that over 50% of advisors left the profession in 2012, and you don't want the same thing happening to you. Actually, you can't afford for it to happen to you. It's not just about the satisfaction of achieving your goals. It's also about ensuring your security, no matter what happens in the industry. I appreciate just how frustrating and irritating it is to feel like you're going round in circles, not moving forward as you know you need to protect yourself and everything that's important to you. But how do you do that when everything you're doing and that you've been advised to do isn't working? You're doing the same as everyone else you know. You're all struggling to pass exams and you'll all expect it to be hard. Hard's one thing, impossible's another. And it's depressing. But doing the same thing as everyone else will get you the same results as everyone else. The 1% who are getting different results, the ones who are achieving their exam and career goals, are doing the opposite of everyone else. That's why they're getting different results, and that's what I'm teaching you on this webinar. So the third thing you need to stop doing is taking the exam more than once. I'm not going to tell you who told me this, about which company and where I was at the time. But you can probably guess. A certain someone, I'm going to call him John, was chuckling away, explaining how much they love it when an advisor books and pays for, mind you, the same exam more than once. It brings him extra revenue, of course, if each exam is paid for 2, 3, 4 or more times by each advisor. Much increased revenue. In fact, this guy, John, went on to tell me that one advisor booked the same exam 12 times at monthly intervals on the basis that he was bound to nudge past the finishing line at some point during the year. I don't know about you, but I reckon that's not the best approach, unless, like John, you're collecting exam fees, that is. Just think about the money wasted, the time revising the same thing over and over, the travelling to get to the exam venue, the time off work, time better spent looking after clients or finding new business and growing your portfolio. And what about the impact on your self-esteem and confidence? Dearie me, there's got to be a better way, surely. You know, it reminds me of driving through the Lake District years ago when there were several sheep ahead of us, all running all over the place, round in circles, left and right like a bunch of fluffy white maniacs. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this, but they hate being separated from the flock. It's threatening. Safety in numbers and all that. This lot somehow found themselves on the wrong side of their perimeter fence, and in an attempt to rejoin the rest of their flock, they took to flinging themselves repeatedly against the perimeter wires. It was all a bit comical and somewhat random. Mostly they hit one of the wires and bounce back to where they leapt from. The daft creatures would act surprised, shake their heads and have another go until they magically succeeded to hit the space between the wires, allowing them through to the field. On one level, it was very funny, just like so many cartoons we'd watch as kids. But at the same time, it was distressing. I longed to tell them to stop panicking, stop doing what they were doing. Take a deep breath and make a plan. I'm not sure that would work with sheep, but it's pretty much what I would say to any advisor who's not winning. You know what's coming, don't you? You could find exam resits as funny as John does. Funny that so many advisors are willing to do the same thing over and over with no real plan for succeeding. Exams, advanced exams. They're even worse. You don't get the opportunity for monthly stabs in the dark. Each round is 6 months. How long is it going to take you to get to where you need to go if you have to wait 6 months between each attempt? There really has to be a better way. You need a proper, proven, ongoing solution. In fact, I don't know a single financial advisor who's achieved chartered status and doubled their salary who didn't commit to a proper, ongoing solution. Thousands of financial advisors are afraid of being pushed out of the industry, leaving them looking for work, and that worry returns on a daily basis. You're an expert at what you do, giving financial advice, aren't you? You're not an expert at passing exams. So why keep doing what the other advisors keep doing when you keep getting the same dreadful results? Why would you think you'll get a better outcome? You don't want to be one of the thousands of advisors who go out of business when the new requirements kick in, or because you kept doing things in the same old way, or because you're so confused and overwhelmed you haven't got a better way to go. 99% of financial advisors make completely the wrong choices to fix their memory and exam failure. It breaks my heart because it doesn't have to be this way. Such a waste, and it just doesn't make any sense. Another thing you've got to cope with is believing that something can change. When you've spent so long working so hard, feeling like you've tried everything and failing, your brain has to make sense of it. Part of your brain's job is to make sense of the world and keep you safe, and that part needs to understand and explain why you keep failing. The obvious explanation is that you're simply lacking. You're not good enough. I won't go into all the evolutionary psychology here, there's not time, but it makes a fascinating study of human beings. Believing that there must be something wrong with you is a natural but wrong interpretation of the situation. You see, it's not because you're missing something, it's because you're simply not doing the right thing. It's not who you are, but what you do. Finding that difficult to believe is only natural when you've had a lot of disappointing results, and when you've made a habit of beating yourself up. You're skeptical that anything can make a difference. Worse, you're afraid that you won't be able to make a difference. So you play safe. You do what you're familiar with, even when it doesn't work. You tell yourself that it'll all come good eventually and that everyone else has the same problem. So you decide to just keep taking and retaking the exam and hope for the best. Seriously? You're telling yourself that'll work out for you? Most advisors believe you've just got to roll your sleeves up and put the time in. Now, while it's true that studying is a good workout for the brain, let's be honest, it's hard work. It's not true that more time equals more exam passes. You don't need me to tell you that, and yet it's still what most advisors think they should do, put more time in. The thing is, of course, that to solve a problem, any problem, we do what we know. After all, you can't do anything else, can you? The problem comes with the limitations of what you know. Einstein said something along the lines of, you can't get out of a problem by using the same thinking that got you into it. But that's what most advisors are doing. They spend every spare moment, that's a joke, who has spare time these days? Every waking moment they can find, spending time on their studies. And when it's not enough to pass an exam, they attempt to spend yet more time doing exactly the same thing they did before. What's that definition of madness? Doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome? We know it doesn't make sense, but it's still what most advisors end up doing, only harder and harder and longer and longer. Come on, I know you know that if what you're doing isn't working, there's precious little point in doing more of it. But that's what happens with busy advisors already up to their ears, who are already running so hard to keep up, there just isn't time to get off the speeding train to lay the tracks in the direction you want to go. Does this sound like you too? Don't fall into the more time trap. You can spend a lot less time doing the right things and get far better, more reliable results. You can't simply work harder and harder, and it just doesn't make sense even before you consider that it doesn't even work. And you've still got the problem you had before you exhausted yourself trying. I can't emphasize this enough. It's not the time you spend, it's the effectiveness of what you do that counts. And if you don't get a grip on the wasted time and effort you're making, we all know where it'll end. You might even think you're close to burnout already. And all the while, there's a different way of going about it that you're not yet aware of. That'll make all the difference to your results and also to your personal journey on the way to getting those results. I've worked with financial advisors, mortgage advisors, planners, paraplanners, insurance brokers, risk managers, wealth managers, investment managers, and other professionals, and teenagers too. And everyone can do this. No, you are not the exception that proves the rule. Yes, we're all different, and yes, we all process, store, and retrieve information differently, but we're also human beings and have a lot in common. Don't flatter yourself. You're not so different that you're the only advisor on the planet incapable of achieving the same great results as those who have gone before you. But I get that's how it feels sometimes. Doubting yourself at this stage is inevitable if you've had a horrible journey so far. But you work with facts, numbers, logic, don't you? I know that when you look at this logically, you can't maintain I'm the only one who can't pass exams. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Because the system I've developed, specifically with financial advisors in mind, and I've tested over and over again over the years, works. Not because of some magic or happenstance, but because it's based on science, the science of humans and how our brains work. If you do what your brain needs you to do, of course it'll work beautifully and give you the results you need. You can keep your car serviced and in tip-top shape, but if you put diesel fuel in a petrol engine, the car's not going to work. You've got to give the engine what it needs, and when you do, you can expect the car to work perfectly. You'd be mad to expect otherwise. So it is with us. You've got a great brain. It's brought you this far. Look at everything you've created in your life and how capable your brain must therefore be. You just need to give it what it needs to perform. And my one method is what it needs to fix your memory problems and leave you free to get on with passing those exams. That will open up a vast array of opportunities for you. You'll be highly employable. You'll never be afraid of losing your job. You'll be able to pick and choose. And if you're running your own business or are planning to, you'll be able to attract the clients you want to work with and take your pick of employees and colleagues. You'll have the power, the wherewithal to design your work and your life around your goals and aspirations. You'll have freedom. You'll be unstoppable. And your clients will be much better off. Would they rather depend on someone who can't prove they understand and remember small and important details? Someone who might neglect a really important detail that's massively going to impact their lives in a bad way? Or someone who's master of information in their industry, who's got such a comprehensive grip on their subject and who remembers everything, nothing left out. Your confidence will spill out and they'll just know they've put their future, they've put their trust in the right person, you. Because we're not talking about just one exam. If you can pass one exam, you can pass any exam. And if you know what to do and what not to do so that you give your brain what it needs, you'll be able to tackle any exam, any subject, any time in the future. And it doesn't just apply to exams either. You'll know how to absorb and retain any information you choose. That includes new legislation and considerations in your industry. It includes anything outside of business, a new hobby maybe. Especially when it's crucial to remember something. Something like piloting a helicopter. Yeah, one of my clients took that up. Learning to be a first aider maybe. You'd be better remembering what to do and what not to do in any given circumstance if you're the one responsible and everybody else is looking to you. I've got clients with new grandchildren who are taking their grandparenting very seriously. And what about at home? Some clients rather sheepishly tell me their memories got so bad their spouse keeps accusing them of being forgetful. But you'll be able to take your new memory skills to remember anything you want. Do you keep forgetting to put the bins out? No problem. Forgetting to pick the kids up? No problem. Forgetting who the kids are? You might need someone else for that. When you start passing all your exams easily, it'll feel so good. The difference that makes to your self-esteem is massive. But it's even better than just whizzing through exams because my system has you accumulate knowledge. So that means that you'll have learned and retained everything you need for the first exam, and while you're waiting for the results, and by that I mean the official results because you already know that you've done well enough from the way the exam went for you, while you're waiting for the results of that, you'll start working confidently on the content for the next exam. And you'll know that's the next thing to do because you'll know you won't have to go back over the previous exam's information because the exam will already be in the bag and because you already know that stuff. And you'll still know it now because you learnt it properly. And you'll continue to know it as you build up your knowledge with the stuff for the second exam. You'll accumulate knowledge, which will give you the confidence to talk to anyone, even people you were a little in awe of in the past. You'll be putting yourself on an equal footing with other professionals and picking up business from them, referring back and forth as equals. I know many mortgage advisors and insurance brokers have arrived at their profession having not taken the conventional academic route, and therefore not having had the academic background that accountants and solicitors have had. For many, this leads them to wonder if they're seen as equals. They don't always feel equal, but not for long. They soon let go of that as they build up their exam-passing, knowledge-building muscle. In fact, it's impossible for them to hang on to any securities on that score. And that's a great thing, to feel you're up to the job academically. I realise many of you recognise that the most important part of the job is what you do with your clients. And some of you feel that the exams aren't a good measure of your effectiveness as an advisor. But you know what? When you've got the academic side covered as well, you'll feel like you've grown 2 inches. And this means you won't find yourself trying to avoid exams here or anywhere else. It's a horrible burden to carry around with you, a belief that you're a failure when it comes to the very exams that prove your knowledge and expertise in your industry. As you know, when RDR came into being, over 50% of advisors left the profession, lost their jobs, sidestepped the exam issue by bringing other people into their business. How embarrassing for them. And what a terrible shame. Some of these advisors will have been great at their jobs. They just didn't have the memory and exam thing sorted. And as well as protecting and preserving all the effort and time you've put into your career, breezing through your exams will do wonders for how you feel about yourself. And other people will notice how much more comfortable you are in your own skin. And you'll be well on your way to the career and lifestyle you came into this business to achieve, while your contemporaries are still running even faster around the same old circle, more and more frustrated, overwhelmed, exhausted, still wondering what they're doing wrong and getting close to throwing in the towel and accepting that they're stuck where they are, knowing there's no hope of protecting themselves from whatever changes might happen with FCA legislation, any reshuffling and reorganisation in their firm, redundancies, restructuring. Like it or not, it's a fact. Higher credentials equals more options. Better insurance for you against whatever's coming. And you know, once my clients decide to take this smarter path, they stopped wasting money on all those other random stab-in-the-dark efforts to improve their results. Instead, they still had time to make sure they continued looking after their current clients, and they also had time to develop relationships with new clients, increasing their own portfolio and their income, while ensuring their clients continued to get the best service possible. There were no lost opportunity costs, missed initiatives, forgotten openings. They could pick and choose which support resources to invest in, those that complemented what they were already doing, and only when they were useful, instead of thrashing about trying everything and throwing all the money at it, all to no avail. What would it be worth to you to stop all that nonsense in its tracks and just calmly apply your system, knowing that that's all you need to do? As soon as they stopped doing all that other stuff and just started applying the system, they forgot any feelings of inadequacy, and that they ever resigned themselves in the past to that frustrating cycle of effort and disappointment. They no longer woke up in the middle of the night wondering how they were going to move forward when they were stuck at their current income level. For some, it was about finding the money to put the kids through university or getting them on the property ladder. For some, it was the worry of all the bills arriving at the same time and with a hefty and unexpected car repair, for example, for good measure. For others, it was about being in a position to have one of them go part-time or at least take some time off, or being able to take more holidays without worrying about it. You can imagine the difference it made when they started passing exams first time. And when that became a thing, it's just what happens now. Passing exams, each one as it comes, and with a high score, around 80%, and that's not a random number. You'll hear me talk about that number a lot because that's what happens. So that means that they can get on with other stuff they need to do to build their empire, to substantially increase their income, to make themselves indispensable to their clients, whichever clients they choose to work with. And they make themselves the go-to person with other professionals, networking and doing business together, providing a comprehensive offering for the interesting clients, which they can afford to hand-pick. It means business gets easier and more rewarding and a pleasure because they have it the way they want it, the way it suits them. And they created this for themselves, all without wasting any more time and effort doing all the wrong things. The wrong things that the other advisors were still doing, spending every waking hour studying, or whatever it was they were doing that they thought equaled studying. And resitting and resitting and resitting each exam several times over months or years and still giving up on themselves, on all the investment they've made so far of time, effort and money, and having to leave the profession and find another job, now even being more constrained because they'd need to find a job that didn't require proof of academic success. What are they going to say when the interviewer asks them why they left? Not just their last job, but the entire profession. It's not a good start to getting a dream job. But you won't have to worry about any of this. You can leave them to it. If you've been struggling with a less than tip-top memory, a less than stellar study strategy, a less than perfect score in exams, look, let's stop skirting around it. Bloomin' awful exam results. You can do something about it. You'll never have to worry about any of this if you implement Accelerator. I'm going to talk you through the broad strokes of how this works. If I talk about it in minute detail, we're going to be here for hours, so I'll give you a high-level explanation, and later on, I'll give you an opportunity to find out more, okay? It's called Genius Material Accelerator because it's quick to learn and implement, and because it gets you going faster than you ever believed possible. In a nutshell, there are 4 parts to your program that we address and implement. The first step is called Deep Dive, because we need a learning plan that works for you. Look, most advisors are great learners but don't know how to learn the sort of stuff you need to learn for the exam. Also, we're hardwired to forget. In fact, we start forgetting 10 minutes after we've learned something. That means advisors, like everyone else, forget as fast as they learn. That feel like you? So in this first part, we find your genius zone, how your brain already handles information beautifully elsewhere in your life. And we get you to stop doing the things that will never work for you, such as the things you've already been doing that have got you nowhere. So from now, you do the things that your brain needs to get information into your head. Now that would be good, wouldn't it? So if you only spend your time doing what you need to do, you automatically cut the time you spend in half. You'll stop wasting time doing all the wrong things, trying harder and harder and still not getting anywhere. It means that you'll become more knowledgeable from the moment you start implementing your system, your bespoke accelerator system. It also means that you'll know you're ready to take an exam and you'll pass it every time. It means you can learn anything you put your mind to. Does that sound good to you? In Speed Learning, Part 2, you'll find out how quick it can be for you to learn complex information once we know how your brain makes patterns and sends it to your long-term memory. That's information. Your brain makes patterns of information if it's to send it to your long-term memory. You'll also discover that you don't have to learn 90% of what's in your textbook. I'll say that again. You don't have to learn 90% of what's in your textbook. But the 10% left is where you need to focus your energy, knowing, of course, which 10% is a skill. And we spend time practicing how you do that so you master your process. Then, of course, once you've really got the information in your brain, and most wealth managers, risk managers, and other advisors never do that, you've got to keep it there. This is what I call sticky brain in section 3. You want information to stick around and not disappear. Remember I said we're hardwired to forget? So we have a very quick and motivating process for keeping the new memory and strengthening it in your brain. So you just know you know it now. You know it like you know the sky is blue, the grass is green, it's just obvious. The focus is to get you to mastery of your subject, so the examiner cannot not award you top marks in each exam. In the last section, in Top Gear, we make sure that we handle everything and anything that might get in the way of your success, so you're able to focus on the outcome you need and not get distracted by stuff. You know, all the things that demand our attention through the day and stop us crossing things off our to-do list. So that little voice in your head that questions your ability and that doubts anything you do will make any difference shuts right up. It'll be easy to motivate yourself. You'll enjoy your learning sessions because your efforts will reward you with spectacularly good results. You won't believe the difference it makes. I get very excited when the penny drops for my advisors and they experience for themselves just how easy it is. Listen, we're all short of time these days. I know you've got a lot going on. I've designed Accelerator to be quick, efficient, and fun. Perhaps most importantly, we get the job done together. I'm there throughout. I will stay with you until you pass your exam. All of which means you really do transform your learning strategy, which means you'll pass your exams, which means you really can create the future you need. Is that the outcome you want? And here's the difference it makes. Pedro wasn't the first advisor to try all sorts of things in an attempt to learn what he needed to learn for his financial exams, and he wasn't the first to discover that what he was doing didn't work very well at all. And the harder he worked, the more stressful it became. The good news, though, is that once he knew how to apply my simple system, he stormed through, look, not 1, not 2, but 7 exams in only 2 months. That's not something he could have dreamt of in the past, and that's why getting to Chartered is a simple matter now of continuing the process he knows works for him. You can read and reread your textbook until you're blue in the face. You can highlight your notes until your book resembles a psychedelic drug fest. You can wade knee-deep through past papers all week long if that's your preferred method of self-abuse. But you'll still come away with nothing if you don't know how to get the information into your head and then to keep it there. We need to get you to a point where each minute you spend using Accelerator takes you another minute closer to having a great memory and acing your exams. The moment you start, you'll know how different it is. You'll know that you're already getting different results. You'll know you're on your way. Even if you've got the best teacher in the known universe, last-minute technical training doesn't work. It never does if that's all you're relying on. You've got to know what to do with any information, no matter how it's presented to you, whether a textbook, a video, audio, structured training, a webinar, anything. You've got to know what to do with that information first, to send it to your long-term memory, and then second, to keep it there. Otherwise, you'll forget it, just like all the other information you've forgotten. Continuing to rely on last-minute technical training or on any of the strategies you've tried so far means you'll never enjoy the self-esteem and confidence that developing a great memory and passing exams first time will bring. Don't keep repeating the same behaviour over and over again, expecting a different outcome. It ain't gonna happen. And deep down, you know that's true. So stop stressing about all that time and effort wasted so far, doing all the wrong things, leaving it all to the last minute, having to resit each exam several times. You've got to find a different way. I know it, and you know it. Meet Era. She was having such a hard time of it, having failed the latest exam twice already. She was on the verge of giving up her dream of getting her advanced level exams. But see the difference it makes when you stop doing all the wrong things and simply do the right things. She got her exams easily, achieved chartered status, and has gone on to create and develop her training and consulting career running her own business. It's completely changed her life. So the question is, do you want to spend the most amount of time, money, and energy and make the least amount of progress? Or do you want to spend the least amount of time, money, and energy and make the most amount of progress? Maybe an even better question is, can you afford not to spend the least amount of time, money, and energy to make sure you make the fastest progress? You're in business, right? Business is about making smart decisions and making a solid return on investment. What sort of a business is it when you don't grab this problem by the horns and wrestle it to the ground? Here's Mark. He used to read and reread his textbook and then go through it again with a highlighter pen. He sat practice paper after practice paper. He made mountains of mind maps, which he put all around the house to try and keep their contents fresh in his mind. Hit and miss, his words. Mind you, while exhausting, good enough for earlier, simpler exams, if all that matters is getting the certificates. He remembered relatively little of the information that got him through those exams, considering the time and effort he put into it. And now, the methods he used before are just not cutting the mustard with the advanced exams. On top of that, having just become a dad for the first time, and now being short of sleep all the time as well, It was only by applying my simple solution and by spending less time studying that he found himself having much more fun and well on his way to achieving charter status despite having that new baby at home. An advisor on the path to exam success and chartered status will always invest in coaching to get better results faster. Their investment pays off really quickly, and so will yours. You can easily learn how to stop forgetting everything within 2 weeks. That would be an excellent use of the next couple of weeks, wouldn't it? It'll save you hours and hours of study and repetitive study because you've got to keep resitting the exam and you can't remember anything from the last time round. Look, I get it. It's not always easy to find the money to make the investment, and that's the very reason you need to. Are you really prepared to go through the rest of your life unable to help yourself because you've made such a poor job of it, investing in the wrong things, or of not investing in yourself at all? Mortgage advisors, insurance brokers, financial planners who have prioritized their own self-development, their business development, their professional development, who've found the money, even when it's not been easy, are the ones who race off ahead of the also-rans, who are left behind shaking their heads like those sheep, wondering where it all went wrong. They're the ones who've turned their lives around, who've never had to dig around for resources, who've left the others standing. How fond are you of exam rooms exactly? How many hours have you already spent in a room like this one? More than you need? Maybe this is the very room where you sat and resat exams. Happy to keep coming back over and over again? They're sure happy to see you. Again. Listen, this isn't the only place you can go to take exams. As they're quick to say on the telly, other exam centres are available. But they're not exactly fun, are they? I bet you'd rather have finished the process and moved on with your life and your career. Financial planners and paraplanners who keep returning are the ones whose logic goes something like this. I'm spending too much time studying to find a solution to spending too much time studying. Just how stressed and overwhelmed do you need to be before you'll consider taking another route? Does this sound like you? I haven't found anything that works yet through technical training and online resources, so I'll keep signing up for more technical training and online resources. Mad, yeah? But an easy mistake to make if everyone around you is doing the same, if trainers are telling you that's what you should do, if you haven't found anything better yet. If only you could stop pedaling so very hard just to keep the bike upright, if only you could prop the bike against a tree, take a breather, check your options and work out the best way to get to where you want to go. I call this the classic 6-year retaking exams mistake. You've probably got a ruder name for it. They thought they would save money by not paying for help. I still come across advisors who've tried to go it alone, who've discovered it's a massive drain on emotional and financial resources, not to mention the loss of opportunity and the loss of face. And they still insist on doing it all by themselves, the wrong way. It's no wonder it takes them so long to get anywhere, or that they give up on themselves. Just recently, I was talking to somebody who'd taken 1 exam twice, still hasn't passed it, and 2 further exams 4 times each, and still hasn't passed those. Many of our advisors still don't really realise that their unwillingness to invest in themselves is the point at which they annihilated their chances of success. That's a loser's mentality. They thought they'd never pass those exams and even double their income, let alone triple or quadruple it. Advisors who kept doing the same thing over and over again eventually lost heart. They lost faith in themselves ever succeeding. And so, tragically, they stopped looking for a solution, which made being stuck at the same level feel even worse over the next 4, 5, 6 years, pretty much until they're resigned to staying put and risking falling behind or out of the profession altogether. And there's only one way to change being stuck and having a loser mentality, and that's just to make the commitment, the simple act of making that decision. Did you know that the word decide comes from the same family of words like suicide, fratricide, homicide, infanticide, genocide? It all comes from the Latin root to kill. To decide is to take one option and kill off all the others. Bang, gone. That's commitment right there. And you need no qualifications or special skills to do that. Anyone can make a commitment to themselves and make a decision that will change their lives. Often we're afraid that we're not sure how it's going to work. We can't see the details, and so we find it difficult to commit to it. We like to know the answer before we ask the question. What successful advisors realize is when you've found the right person to help you, all you have to do is show up and be coachable. You're not supposed to know all the answers. That's down to the coach. They will get you from where you are to where you want to be. All you have to do is show up and follow instructions, and anyone can do that, even you. See, all you have to do is take one step at a time to throw your hat over the wall. Do you know that expression? I love it because I can just imagine that no matter how high that wall looks right now, since you've now got to retrieve your hat, you have to find a way of succeeding. Getting resourceful is the name of the game, and when advisors finally realize that they can't do it on their own and they commit to getting the help so they can move forward the easy way, rather than the horribly hard way that they've been trying already, they very quickly turn their results around and wonder why they didn't make the leap earlier and save themselves all that aggro. If you bring me a resourceful attitude, if you're willing to try a new approach and you let me guide you, like these advisors here, you can expect to get the same great results they got. And it might interest you to know that they were scared and skeptical too, but they were willing to take that leap of faith in themselves, and bingo, everything changed from that point on. So you've really got to ask yourself, how many days out of the last 30 have you spent feeling like a failure? And how many days should you have spent feeling bad when you could have been doing something pain-free instead? Something like only doing what works to get information into your head and then keep it there, and cutting out all the other useless things you used to do that never worked nor ever will. Something like chopping in half the time you spend studying, something like building up your knowledge base, and something like enjoying the process, for goodness sake. Life's too short for all that miserable effort and zero reward. And just in case you're wondering, I have never had a single student, any age, background, any exam subject, any level experience, previous academic achievement, who hasn't been able to do this. We have always found the best way for them to fix their memory and, if needed, their mindset as well. Honestly, this is completely doable, and it's doable by you. No exceptions. So, during the last 30 days, how much time have you spent, for example, trying to make the time to study? Feeling like you need hours and hours of time because what you've been doing isn't working and the only thing you can think of is to do more of it. Let's say of the last 30 days you spent, 25 days anxious about the future, worried you're not making sufficient headway and that you're not on track if you don't solve this problem soon, feeling like a failure and like you'll never succeed, and wondering if you should give up now before you feel any worse, and before you give up any more time and effort to it. But you should be living every day feeling totally in control, totally confident and self-assured. The difference is 25 days that you should be in control, living your life and on your way to that additional 100K. On your way to choosing who to work with, who to network with and do business with, and how to spend that additional money. How many hours does that amount to over the last 12 months? 4,500, give or take. But instead, you're spending them feeling helpless and hopeless. Nice. And still no nearer to the extra income. That's money being kept from you every moment you don't implement Accelerator, the one thing that's systematic and will work for you. The money you've not been able to earn this last year by not already having this stuff in place, what's that? 10 grand? 100 grand? Enough for a hefty chunk towards a house. Even 5 grand will buy you a brand spanking new car. And you're just giving it away. Or 300 days it amounts to over the last 12 months, or 8 years out of the next 10, all wasted because of your poor memory and exam failure. All because you simply didn't have the right method to follow. Or maybe you did find the right method, but you didn't find the money. You didn't make the commitment to yourself. Or you didn't make the effort. Or you didn't find the time to make it work. One thing I do know for sure is that successful advisors, those who pass their exams first time, do whatever it takes to find the money to get started. Those who trust themselves to follow instructions, to make a good decision and kill off any procrastination, delay, distraction that might keep them from their course. Those who do what it takes get the results they want, the results they need. So regardless of where they are right now, they find the money and get started. I do that too. That's how I operate. I have low tolerance for struggling on my own when I can invest wisely in myself and move forward quickly, getting the results I need so much faster than if I continued to wrestle with a problem on my own. Running a business isn't always as easy as it looks, I don't have to tell you that. I love technology, and along the way I've been known to design and build my websites as well as write the copy, do the marketing and branding, and in the early days I had plenty of time for the steep learning curve I was on, and I enjoyed it. But just like you, I've got more going on now. I've got bigger fish to fry. There's more at stake, and I have to spend my time wisely and not flush it away doing stuff that someone else, an expert, can help me do much faster if I just come up for air and ask for help. I no longer waste the time I used to waste trying to fix something that's just not working as it should. Often it's a culprit bit of code that's messing the whole website up, and I just can't find it. I'm tearing my hair out, swearing at my computer. I'm not always this polite, I can tell you. I'm quite resilient. I have a robust mindset, but boy, oh boy, if something's going to have me utterly frustrated and close to tears, it's something to do with a malfunctioning website. Ask my husband. I do this so much better now by recognizing early on that it's one of those moments, and I bring in the big guns. Usually before I kill someone, I get the experts involved, and I knock a problem on the head before it sucks the life out of me. You know, often in my line of work in the past, I couldn't find someone to help me. I was already head and shoulders further ahead, and using a combination of programs and software that anyone I could find just didn't know about. That was part of the reason too that I found myself doing all of it. But that's no longer true for me, and it's definitely not true for you because you've got a real opportunity here. There's someone, me, with the knowledge and experience that you need to tap into to get rid of all the confusion and fruitless hard work. This is your turning point. You can't continue doing what you were doing before. That doesn't make any sense. Never mind the time you've wasted. How much money have you spent? When you add up the cost of textbooks, online training, audios, question papers, workshops, seminars, travelling to get the exam again, maybe even having to pay for a bed and breakfast joint, buying another textbook because the time it's taken you so far to study for this exam, it's been revamped and updated, and what you've learned so far is out of date. And then there are the times you found yourself paying extra to have someone remark your paper just in case, and none of it has actually worked. How much have you spent? How much do you think it's been so far? £1,000? 2? More? Could be. Most wealth managers and mortgage brokers I talk to haven't kept score. They're afraid to admit to themselves that the situation is as depressing as they're afraid it might be. Meanwhile, how much money haven't you made in the time you've been failing the same exams over and over, maybe neglecting clients and competing poorly in the market? How much money haven't you made while you're missing out on another year of additional income? 10,000? 20,000? £100,000? I hear stories like this one all the time. I don't know if other risk managers are quite so open with their colleagues. I don't know if you hear them talk numbers like these. Here's Jonathan. He reckons he wasted £3,000 or so paying out for stuff that didn't get him anywhere. He'd spent the last 6 years attempting to make headway in his exams, having taken his first one 4 times, failing each time. He abandoned his original plan and had a go, or 3, at one of the other advanced papers. Same dire results each time. Enormously stressful, hard work followed by a long wait and then nothing. In several of those exams, he came out of the exam room afterwards thinking he'd done enough to scrape a pass. But no, not once. He'd even shelled out for a remark on a couple of occasions. In one of those remarks, his score actually went down. On top of this struggle, one of his biggest clients moved to another provider, and although apparently they didn't spell it out, reading between the lines, Jonathan said they obviously felt he'd taken his eye off the ball and that they'd be better served elsewhere. That cost him £15,000. Remember Martin? He tackled his exam challenges straight on. He knew he had to do something different since what he was doing wasn't working and was causing an enormous amount of stress and toll. But being the professional he is, decided to invest in some professional help, and that's what made all the difference. As you know, he's now a senior partner at St James Place and has been free to continue to focus on finding new clients, the sort of clients he wants to work with, rather than having to take whatever comes his way. Finding new ideal clients and looking after the ones he's already got. He really does have a reputation for knowing his onions and being well connected and respected. And it's he everyone goes to when they need sound advice. How much time, sweat and money is it costing you not fixing your memory and passing exams first time using Accelerator? With Accelerator, you'll very quickly know the best way your brain processes, stores and retrieves information, so you'll know exactly what to do and what not to do to have your brain make a pattern of new information and send it to your long-term memory. You'll know exactly how to keep it there for the exam and beyond. You'll be more and more knowledgeable. You'll whiz through your exams. You'll be able to create the career and lifestyle you want, making £10,000–20,000 more, going on to doubling, trebling, and for some people maybe even quadrupling your salary if that's what you're aiming for, while following a proven plan. All you have to do is show up and be coachable. You can do that, can't you? You won't have to spend every waking hour studying. You will never have to resit another exam. You won't find yourself nodding off while trying to read and reread your textbook. You won't be rushing last minute to technical training, suffering the stress that being ill-prepared gets you. And you can stop hoping the problem will disappear on its own. I've got news for you, it won't. It'll do the opposite and it'll get bigger and bigger. Is that what you want? Aren't you sick of banging your head against a brick wall, wondering where that headache's coming from? Isn't it time to stop all that pointless nonsense and decide to do something different with a system that's proven to work every time, for everyone? Will it work for you too then? Maybe you're wondering, what if it doesn't work? The reality is it's not working now, or you wouldn't be on this webinar. You wouldn't be totting up how much you've spent so far and how much you've lost by not fixing your problem. Paraplanners get themselves in a tangle. They worry that this isn't going to work for them, that they'll be the first person who fails with this new method. But what you're doing already isn't working. So what's there to be fearful of? You're having to cope with that already. What if it does work? Have you asked yourself that question? What if it does work? How might that be different in your life? And the answer is, any advisor can make their position more secure to future-proof themselves against changes. Any advisor can get the qualifications they need, the confidence to work with other professionals, the resourcefulness to build their business and create the income and lifestyle they want. By going about it the right way, by using the right method. And it doesn't rely on you having to spend every waking hour studying. It doesn't rely on you having to retake every exam several times. It doesn't need you to explain and excuse yourself ever again. I can see it coming. Here's my bold prediction, and maybe not that bold when you think about what happened with RDR at the end of 2012. It'll be just like before. The FCA will make level 6 mandatory. There'll be a last-minute panic, and those without the necessary qualifications will have to leave the profession. That could be you. You'd be looking for another job. Where would you go? And remember, you'll be competing with all the other advisors in the same boat. There won't be enough jobs for all of you. Even if you're one of the lucky ones and someone gives you a job, you won't be able to be choosy. At the very least, you'll be looking at a pay cut. How will that work out for you? Is that a future you can stomach? That's enough to make anyone anxious. But here's how we can fix this fast. There's a great window of opportunity here for you. And as you can probably tell from the way I speak, I'm really big on taking action, on being bold. And what I'd like for those of you who make stuff happen, for those of you who are serious about future-proofing your career and livelihood, and about making that extra 5, 10, 100K, I'd really like to give you the opportunity to leverage my expertise and experience of teaching and coaching for over 35 years. So instead of losing your job, you'll be one of the remaining advisors now in a much better situation, and with 50% less competition and the no-hopers gone, you'll be able to clean up. I've been around the block a few times. I've seen every which way advisors shoot themselves in the foot in the name of passing exams, and I've felt their pain and frustration time and time again. I've seen students accidentally doing everything the wrong way, and that's such a terrible waste when there's a much easier approach, which I've personally used to repeatedly get 100% in exams. Look, here's what happens when you do what you've been doing. You forget most of what you've learnt within 20 minutes, and it continues to get worse over time. That's normal. But here's what you can expect with Genius Material Accelerator. Let me say that again. Here's what you can expect with Accelerator. Notice I'm saying expect, not hope. This isn't an unrealistic pipe dream. I am not prettying it up. You can expect scores of around 80%, just like all the other planners, advisors, brokers and managers who have implemented my method. When you give your brain what it needs, it will reward you with a great memory. And this is why my financial advisors get such brilliant scores and continue to remember what they've learned well beyond the exam. So they simply become more knowledgeable, and their clients and their colleagues know it. I've helped hundreds of financial advisors and planners, paraplanners, insurance and mortgage brokers, wealth, risk, investment managers, and other professionals get 80% plus every exam, even when, no, let me rephrase that, especially when they're busy with clients, and of course need to prioritize that time with clients and also building their business, and especially when there are family considerations, such as a new baby. So before you get stuck at your current level, or worse, lose your job, I would like to set up an entirely complimentary How to Fix Your Memory and Pass Your Exams First Time Using Accelerator call. It's completely free. There's no risk to you, but this is where we'll get on the phone with you and one of my super highly trained breakthrough expert coaches will personally put together a complete plan for you so you can fix your memory and get out of failing exams fast. And you'll find out how you can implement Accelerator and apply it to your own personal circumstances and make it work for you. So it doesn't matter what exams you've got, we'll talk you through it. It doesn't matter what time scale you've got, we'll talk you through it. It doesn't matter what financial goals you've got, we'll talk you through it. It doesn't matter what resources you've got to play with, we'll talk you through it. And we'll outline for you the precise, customized blueprint you can use to fix your memory and exam problems and create the wealth you know is out there waiting for you. So you'll leave this call with one of my fabulous coaches with the exact system I've personally used to pass exams easily myself and score 100%, or on other occasions as near as damn it to 100%. The reason I've created this system is so I can spend 90% plus of my time not messing about with technology on my 3 websites, but with my paying clients, the advisors who've invested in themselves, who've trusted us and themselves. Spending that amount of time with these advisors feels the right thing to do now, and I would like you to know that if you become a client of mine, you can be sure that you'll have my full attention and help. Now, my highly trained breakthrough coaches know how this all works. I've trained them myself, so they know exactly how to help you put this together for yourself. So when you book the call, you'll have exactly what you need. Now, let me be clear, this is not a sales pitch. This is breakthrough coaching. Some advisors are put off with the idea that there'll be high pressure and they'll feel pushed and not at all in control of the conversation. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to come on the call, and because you've done your homework, yes, we'll be asking you to fill out an application form telling us lots of information about where you are and where you want to be so we can prepare for your call. We're going to show you exactly why what you're doing isn't working, and you'll have an exact plan broken down step by step for you, what to do instead that'll work better. And then, if we think you're the right fit for us, and if it's something you want to hear about, we'll ask you if you'd like our coaching to help you implement the system. And you will either say yes, or you will say no. That's as high pressure as it gets. But please be aware that we only bring on a few select clients each month for 2 reasons. First of all, we only work with advisors we're 100% sure we can help get good results. I refuse to take money from anyone I'm not totally sure I can help. Secondly, it just might not be the right time for you, or maybe for some other reason it's not a good fit. Whatever, regardless, you're going to have a great experience on the call, great information, a great plan. So don't be cross if we get to the end of the call and we don't offer to work with you. If that's what happens, it'll only be because we don't think it's a good fit for you right now, and we'll tell you why. So what's the worst thing that could happen? Nothing bad's going to happen. Worst case scenario, you get a great plan, and the best scenario, you get a great plan and take the coaching and we go ahead and work together. That's it. Both of these are pretty good outcomes, aren't they? And also, you've made it this far. We're nearly at the end of our time together for now. When you get through to the end of the video, I'll send you the bonus report I mentioned earlier so that you stop making the common mistakes advisors make when studying. Like we said, the best thing that will happen is you love the customized plan we create for you and you want to become a client of mine. So there's only one thing you need to do. Book the call. Taking this call is really the single most important thing you can do for yourself right now. It's more important than all the stuff you've been doing. Carry on doing that, and if you're not already completely knackered and burnt out, there's only one way it can go. It's only a matter of time. I know you know that. Now is the time. Make the best decision of your career and book a call now.